Yeah, so hi everyone. My name is Ardish Azam. I'm the country manager for Startup Grind Pakistan and the CEO for Ijad Labs. We run some of the coolest tech conferences in this country, for this country, inside and outside Pakistan, and a number of other things as well. Today, I'm super excited to host this fireside chat myself with two amazing founders. One is from very close from me, from Rawalpindi, and the other one is from Florida, who I recently no, sir, Texas, Dallas, sorry, who I recently met in Dallas. I was also in Florida. So thank you, Jordan and Saad, for joining us.
Hey, Arjun, thanks for having me, and thanks for having Saad as well, of course. And glad that we got to meet not too long ago in person, and happy to be here.
No,
Yeah, thank
so
you very
so
much,
thank
Azish.
you. Yeah, thank you, Saad, and yeah, let me just fix this. Perfect. So, thanks for giving me time while I was in Dallas to meet some friends. Finally glad that, traveling has somewhat resumed and hopefully, will recover from COVID throughout the world as the US is doing right now. So you are both the founders of QisstPay, which is a buy now, pay later platform, right? So essentially someone can go online, shop for something, and then pay for it in installments. And I believe this has been happening in the US and a bunch of other markets for a very long time. But for Pakistan, it's somewhat a new thing, right? So maybe if you want to introduce QisstPay a little bit, and then we can talk about your journey and how you two met.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Saad and I have known each other about 3.5 years, and actually kind of started off. We met on an online freelancing platform. I decided that I want to start a software house, and messaged Saad randomly. It was kind of, hey, let's start this together, and we built a software house about 15, 20 people, and we decided about late last year to kick this off and decided to start QisstPay. We looked at Pakistan. I looked at the BNPL market that I knew very well, and worked with Saad very closely to do a market analysis and figure, hey, is this a good fit? And the clear answer was yes. The clear answer was yes. And so now we're here. We are up and running, hiring like crazy, getting a new office in Islamabad. As we start to board, a lot of big merchants, which is really exciting. So as an example, we just revamped our website as well as some of our APIs. But I think the most exciting thing are the things you can't even see. We have some very large retailers coming live over the next 60 to 90 days, which I think will really set us apart from the pack. But no, it's pretty straightforward, right? We offer interest-free installments for consumers as a way for retailers to differentiate themselves from others, right? So increase average order value, increase repeat purchase history, as well as increase conversion, which I think some of the key metrics that not just in-store players are looking for, but as well as online players are looking for.
Oh, amazing! And I'm sure this will do great in this market. So Saad, you have a hardcore technology background, right? If that's my
Yes,
assumption. So what
absolutely.
were you doing before connecting with Jordan, and how was your journey after meeting him? Before QuestPay as well, because you were in the software company together.
So before, as John mentioned, we had a software house in the past, right? Over there, my main responsibility was to ensure and to meet the deadlines and ensure proper standards and guidelines are being followed. I actually worked on different platforms that includes cryptocurrency wallet platform, multi gateway switch for payment gateways for e-commerce stores, and much more. Prior to this, I was working as a team lead in a software house that is based in Rawalpindi. So when Jordan actually shared this idea with me, I was quite impressed with the fact that this has not been introduced in Pakistan market on the official grounds. And this is where we both decided to, put our full 100% focus to this product. And that's where it's all started.
Amazing. And Jordan, you have a background in the BNPL space in the US, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So my whole background is fintech, which is close to a decade of experience. I started with Klarna actually when they launched their pay in four solution, which has kind of turned them from a $3.1 billion company to now a $43 billion organization.
Wow.
And this was, it was a different time. Right now everyone has a pay in four solution or some sort of BNPL in the U.S. And back then we were walking into retailers saying, "Why do I need this? Why should I do this? Why would people want to split a small ticket item?" It was a very difficult sell. but now it's a de facto payment method. And even after that, I went and became the VP of sales at Charge After, where I helped build the sales team and help essentially grow the organization into what it is today. And for those who aren't aware, Charge After is essentially a multi BNPL aggregator, and really a platform for buy now pay later. But my whole background is this, and really the past 4 or 5 years, I've been focusing on BNPL, not just in the US, but also Europe, Canada, and a few other markets as well.
That's fantastic, and now you're bringing all that expertise to Pakistan, literally. So that's just amazing. So where does the BNPL market in Pakistan stand right now? I've personally, I think I've seen that on Daraz you can buy stuff if you have a certain credit card, and then you get installments, but that I think primarily, and as per my understanding, that's a credit card offering, right? So for example, I'm with Standard Chartered. They offer a bunch of products that you can buy for installments. Sometimes those products are slightly more expensive than the market price, but that has been the way. So what does the market look like right now, and what are your ambitions with QisstPay?
Yeah, so look, I mean, I think before jumping into the product too heavily, right, I think we need to talk about how we help retailers, right? So I'll give you a perfect example. So look, we have a premium product, right? Our product isn't for every retailer out there. It's really for someone who is, not just trying to be the least expensive and cheapest, solution out there, right? So we really work with premium brands that want to offer the best consumer journey. So with that said, right, when you look at retailers, I'll give you a perfect example. I have a certain retailer we're working with right now, and we're talking about the pricing of our solution. And when you look at their homepage, it's a good sized brand, but on their homepage, on my mobile phone, the first thing I see is 50% off, 20% off, 50% off. Right. So discounting has become the norm to attract consumers, and it's extremely expensive to do so. And because everyone does it, provides little value to the consumer. It's almost like white noise to them. That's not going to help convert consumers. So what we do is that we help brands get away from that and offer different ways to market to their consumers by offering installments. And this is just one of the key pieces that we help consumers or help retailers get over with their consumers by increasing their lifetime value of their consumers. Now, looking at the product, what we do today, and what Daraz does, and what many other, not just Daraz, right, many other retailers do today when they offer installments, is they authorize the full amount. So what I mean by that is let's say you do a 6-month installment solution with a 6,000 rupee transaction. They charge the first amount for 1,000 rupees that day. The next month and then they authorize 5,000 rupees on your card. The next month they reduce it to 4,000 hold, charge another 1,000, and then reduce it to a 3,000 rupee hold, and then charge another 1,000. Now look, this is great. If you have a credit line and you have a credit card, this is a great solution. It really is. The problem, however, is most people in Pakistan, if they have a card, are debit cards. And when you put a hold on a card, it's the same thing as spending it for a debit card. So it provides no value to the consumer. With us, we only authorize and settle the installment amounts. So I think it's a big differentiator here. So for example, if you have an item you want to buy that's, let's just say 10,000 rupees, and you want to split it to two 5,000 rupee installments, if you only have 6,000 rupees in your bank, you can still purchase it with us versus something like what's out there in the market today. You just can't do. Now, look, we're not about helping people spend more than what they can afford. That's not what it's about. It's about cash flow management. Most of our consumers that purchase this today have the funds in their bank account to purchase it outright, but it's about managing their cash flow and providing installments to them. So, I mean, I think in terms of the product and what we operate in, we operate anywhere from 1,500 rupees all the way to 35,000 rupees, and we are bank agnostic. As long as you have a Visa or MasterCard, as well as some upcoming wallets, you can work with QisstPay.
Perfect. So as long as you have a Visa or Mastercard, so that means you're targeting people who don't have a credit card as well, right? So you can have a debit card and then use QisstPay.
Correct. And we are also starting to integrate some of the wallets onto our platform. So soon we'll be able to extend this into other payment methods as well, not just to people who have a debit or credit card.
Fantastic. And does QisstPay also help build credit history for these people, right? Because as per my understanding, there are very few people in the country who have a credit card. I don't know, some years ago the number was like 0.9 million. I don't know the current stat. But does it also help build some sort of a credit history?
It helps build a credit history with us. When you look at the countries like the U.S., we have a centralized credit reporting system that most people utilize today. But in Pakistan, that just doesn't exist. So even if we reported something to the credit bureaus, positive or negative, it really wouldn't help a lot of people because other people just don't use that type of reporting, right? It just doesn't exist as heavily as it is in the U.S. or Europe. But that's also one of our biggest benefits that we actually cover earlier is the fact that as of today, we do not report to the credit bureau. So we do not require CNIC when a consumer signs up. We use alternative ways to determine whether or not a consumer can complete a transaction. So for us, this is completely revolutionary to Pakistan, not just to the retailers, but to the consumers as well.
No, fantastic. I think my friend Shayan has a similar question, which is people buying at premium stores already have credit cards. Why work with debit card for this installment model?
Yeah, that's a good question, and that I think as a whole, I think that the statement is fairly accurate, but I think let me put a different twist on it. Most of the people shopping at stores have premium card shopping at stores that are premium customers have credit cards, but not all of them do, right?
Okay.
Not all of them do. So for example, in the U.S., I have a credit card, but it literally sits in my safe. I shop 100% with my debit card, and I just don't have a reason to use my credit card, right? So what if you have those consumers in Pakistan? Do you want to just let those consumers sit by the wayside? And also, there are also a lot of the installment plans today are bank specific. So if your retailer doesn't offer your bank's installment plan, you can't use installments. And as you mentioned earlier, they then have to charge an upcharge. It's a very complex solution. It's not very easy. So you could walk into one store, be able to offer installments on your bank card, but on the next one you can't. And we kind of get rid of that issue for consumers.
Okay, but you're saying that this solution is for premium stores, but you're also supporting transactions which start at $1,500, right? 1,500 rupees, right? So someone could buy, I don't know, a T-shirt or a dress that costs 3,000 rupees, and I don't think that's really very premium, right? That would be that could target a very large population, right? There people are
Yep.
not these are not just people looking to buy iPhones or MacBooks and all of that stuff. For like 1,500 plus you can buy, I think, most of the utilities, clothes, other stuff.
Yep. It's not really about right. It's not really about the product, right? It's about the brand. If the brand,
Okay.
you can sell things at 1,500 rupees and still be a premium brand. I'll give you a perfect
Yeah.
example. I shop at, I consider one of the most premium brands in the U.S. And believe it or not, is Costco, right? When I go to Costco and I buy something, I know it's going to be premium quality. It doesn't have to be expensive for it to be premium quality, right? It's also about the consumer journey. You may have a credit card, but maybe you don't want to tie up a bunch of your credit to buy in installments, right? And especially if it costs you nothing extra, why wouldn't you, right? If it costs you nothing extra and you can pay in installments, why wouldn't you want to use a service like this? Once again, price doesn't always mean quality. I buy premium food for, as an example, 1,500 rupees is roughly, $10, $11 fairly regularly, right? I could buy a premium, pair of socks for $10, right? Not
Makes
many
sense.
people are going to spend $10 on a pair of socks. But once again, it's a premium item. Just because it's 1,500 rupees doesn't necessarily mean that.
It's not premium. No, that makes sense. So the shirt I'm wearing right now is also Costco. I got it like last week. No, Costco has good stuff, man. So
Yeah.
yes, there's a comment in your support as well that people don't have a lot of people don't have credit cards, so this would be a good alternative, right? So when we observe the US market and the lifestyle there, BNPL plays a big role in I would say supporting quality of life, right? So even if someone is making like I know $5,000 a month, can buy cars and accessories and a TV that is like really expensive, because they have this facility to pay it in installments, right? And most of the time it's like 0% APR. So how has this like BNPL facility reshaped life in the US? That's like a very non-tech question. And how do you see its effect in Pakistan, given that now we have a very large, middle class population, people with a lot of disposable income. Everyone is booking like the latest model Jeep that's now, Kia or MG or Hyundai, and all of them have like owns of like 5 to 10 lakhs. So people have money, right? But how will this fit into our environment right now?
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, as I mentioned earlier, right, this whole solution about cash flow management, and you could be middle income, upper income, middle upper income, lower income, right? It's all about cash flow management, and that's really what makes BNPL so powerful. Is the fact from the consumer perspective is that this solution helps them manage that cash flow, right? You could be middle income. It goes back to I always love this example as you talk about a working man who needs to buy a pair of boots, right? Someone he has the money. He buys a nice quality pair of boots. He pays cash for them, and they last 20 years. Then you have someone a social class or a financial class down below him, and he can only afford to buy the cheap pair of shoes, but they wear it every 6 months. And so those cheap pair of shoes, although they're less expensive at the start, end up costing him more. So this type of solution helps bridge that gap around cash flow management, right? And yes, sure, he could afford to buy the boots outright today, but the reality is that then it brings him down to a net zero gain, which is very difficult to maintain that type of lifestyle. So we help bridge that gap there, and as I think you start to see the middle income rise and go through it, BNPL has become more prevalent. And look, I can tell you, I can see that there's some comments around, this is not meant for premium people, but I can tell you, if you look in the U.S., everyone uses BNPL, regardless of your social
Yeah.
class. I mean, you see this thing on things like Revolve. Revolve, I mean, their average order value is several $100s, I'm sure, right? Premium brands, and then you also see the same type of solution on fast fashion like Zara, ASOS, H&M. So I mean, it's literally all over the place. And I think, and look, I get comments all the time. Most of them are very positive around BNPL and what we're doing. I work every morning with like 40 or 50 LinkedIn invites or messages from new people I've never met saying how great this is. But there are some people that are saying, look, this won't work in Pakistan. Why are you doing this? This doesn't make sense. Well, look, the reality is it's working literally in every other country, right? Why can't it work here? But Pakistan's very different. I think that's one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is we are 100% Pakistan focused. We're not going into any other country. We have no interest of expanding outside the borders. We are 100% focused inside of the country because there are a lot of nuances. You can't just copy and paste what you're doing in Europe and apply it in Pakistan. I 100% agree with that statement. But still, the general principles of buy now, pay later are still applicable, and I think will be a very successful business model for years to come.
No, absolutely. I'm of the same opinion. And I think a lot of like the startups that have now raised a lot of funding in Pakistan, a lot of business models that have successfully worked here, have also worked in India, right? So that's a more relatable market for us. So are there BNPL companies in India?
Yeah, so when we actually looked at some of the players and or which countries we should have gone to, whether it had been Pakistan or whether it be India or China, right? There is, I mean, quite a few different options in India, right? And because once it's a huge population, and sometimes it overshadows Pakistan, which is why I think that we're so excited to be in Pakistan. But there's multiple options in in India, excuse me, that compete today, right? And when you look at from a cultural perspective, it's working very well there. It's a very competitive market there. It's a huge population, and even companies like Sezzle, which is a U.S. based company, and BNPL is in India now.
Oh,
So I
no.
mean, when it's working there, I think it's going to be very successful here in Pakistan. But once again, Pakistan is still different than India, and you need to make sure that the solution, if you enter this market, is 100% focused. I've told this to people in the past. If you're focused anywhere else other than in Pakistan and you're operating in Pakistan, you're going to fail. It's a complex market. There's a lot of nuances, and me being an outsider, right? I coming from America, I bring a different view set, but I always have to go back to my team and say, hey, does this work in Pakistan? Does this make sense for the culture? Does this make sense for the market? And I think because we focus so heavily on this, our solution, even the consumer buying journey, is a little bit different than really any other market.
Absolutely, no, that's a great perspective to have while launching this company. So where does QisstPay stand right now? When can someone like me start using it?
Yeah, you can start using it right now. We started beta. We went into beta late last year, and went full launch at the beginning of the quarter. So we've been fully live for maybe 2 months now. We
Oh,
have
nice.
about a dozen merchants live. We've got 50 or 60 or so signed contracts. So we're waiting to board some additional merchants, and some of those are fairly notable, which I'm really excited about. But you can go today to just kisspay.com and look on our shopping guide, which lists some of our merchants that are live today, and just choose KissPay instead of cash on delivery, uh, and just use it today. It's a really simple process, easy to sign up. And once again, we don't collect CNIC, and I think that's a big win for us.
Oh, absolutely. I think everyone asks for CNIC in Pakistan, so this is definitely a big win. So how does it work for the merchant, right? So for the customer, it's pretty straightforward. We don't have to pay the money upfront. It becomes installments. We don't even need a credit card. But for the merchant, like what's the value proposition for them? Do they get paid? Yeah, so how does it work?
Yeah, so our value proposition is a little bit different for the merchant. So as we pay them instantly, so we settle the next day for all the transactions. So it's next day plus bank transit times. We On average, we're going to increase the average order value 30 to 60%,
Oh,
depending on the
wow.
vertical. Uh, the conversion rate is quite a bit higher as well, and there's no risk of fraud. So as long as they follow their own return policies and kind of basic guidelines that any business should follow, they are protected
Okay.
against all chargebacks, all fraud, all non-repayment, and we're going to back them up every single time, right? And I think from the consumer perspective as well is that we're essentially a trusted intermediary. So if you're shopping with a KissPay brand, it's going to be handled. So for example, if we see multiple complaints of someone saying, "Hey, we're getting the wrong item," right? We're going to investigate that, right? And that's going to happen. In consumer trying to fraud the merchant and the merchant trying to fraud the consumer, it happens, right? We're not ignorant to that fact. And we find that a merchant's acting in bad faith, we will remove them from our platform. And same with the consumer. If we see the consumer is acting in bad faith, we're going to remove them. So we act as that trusted intermediary between the parties to say, look, if you're using KissPay, you're going to be working with good consumers and good brands. And in addition, we generate literally thousands of leads to our merchants.
Oh, nice.
One of our biggest value propositions is that, hey, if you work with KissPay, you're getting free marketing. We have
Yeah.
our site visits just blow my mind every time we go on. Every time I go and look at the stats, just because we're getting so much traction in the marketplace. And for anybody that doesn't partner with us, you're essentially losing out on those leads. And those leads, they may not even convert with KissPay. They may use cash on delivery, and that's okay. But it's a service that we provide to our merchants to help them grow their consumer base, time and time again.
No, fantastic. That's just amazing. I can definitely see them getting more business now that they have this facility, right? Because they can tap into an additional, I would say, target market or a facility as well. But in a e-commerce market where cash on delivery is probably like 95% or something, how does recurring payments work for the consumers, right? So I just put my debit card and every month, it deducts from my debit card, right?
Yeah, so we tokenize all the payment methods that get used with us. So once you put in your debit card, we take that card data, we securely store it, with one of our partners, and we then automatically draft the remaining installments as time moves forward. So we have
Okay.
so with the consumer, it's very flawless. They don't. We send them a reminder before we take that next installment. But there
Okay.
is no sort of manual payment method, and that's how we're able to essentially successfully operate today. And we have a very complex fraud and underwriting system today that helps us identify potential fraudsters. And one of the ways that we try to reduce some of our losses is by having that recurring payment. That's just one example of some of the technology that we leverage today to make this platform a success.
That's fantastic. But so far, this would be limited to people who have like a debit card, right? So someone who doesn't have a bank, doesn't have a credit card or a debit card cannot use the facility at this time.
At this time, yes, that'll be changing next quarter. So I'm talking in the next 30 to 60 days, we'll have our first wallet onboarded, as well as several others.
Oh, fantastic! Really looking forward to that. I think that can open the doors for e-commerce for like a very large population who currently only rely on cash on delivery, where you have to pay all of the amount upfront. So those were all my questions. And if the people who are listening to us, they have any questions, you can just comment, and we'll see the comment here. I see that Shayan has been a very active listener with so many comments. So thank you. And I think we can address his last comment where he's saying, your customers sound like lower middle to middle class, yet your stores are premium. How are you going to bridge it? I think my 2 cents on this, I felt like Khadi is like such a premium brand, but it turns out they're not. They just target like the middle class, and they it's like fast fashion. It's like Zara in the US, which feels like a very premium brand, but it's not actually. They just want to give the feel, but sell stuff at prices that are affordable to most of the population, right? And I think that's what all these like fashion brands in Pakistan are doing or have been doing. But please do share your insights.
Yeah, I mean, once again, when we talk about premium, it's not necessarily premium products, right? It's about the premium customer, right? So we don't want to be working with someone who's just trying to constantly lower their prices. We're trying to help the merchants get away from that, right? It's not productive to anybody, right? We want someone who focuses on good customer service, who focuses on delivering on time and delivering what and as I mentioned earlier, right? Zara is a good example. Zara, ASOS, H&M, all kind of have our premium brands, but they sell less expensive products. It doesn't mean they're a bad brand, but they're a premium brand. Once again, it would be people like Revolve, right? Um, that sell high end products that use multiple buy now pay later solutions. And Saad has an interesting perspective as well. I think as uh, being Pakistani, kind of my wife says that I talk to Saad more than I talk to her, which is probably true. I think Saad's been a unique learning journey. It's something, Saad, I'd love to hear I think everyone would love to kind of hear your opinion on the solution and kind of how it's grown since over the past few months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Azish, so basically, as I told you that when Jordan actually shared this idea with me, since BNPL is a hot trend in the market, right? And we know that Asian community go crazy over installments, right? So this is
Yeah.
something, yeah, this is something where we thought that we should actually put our 100% focus on this thing. And with that being said, people, with the COVID thing going around and all this stuff, women are more inclined toward card payments when it comes to purchasing products through fashion retailing store. So in the start, our main target was to, get on board these kind of stores that deals in fashion retailing stores. Apart from that, when we, found that the demand is on the other side as well. So this is where we decided to actually go on all verticals to, allow installments so they can actually purchase through installments.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah,
that's a really
fantastic.
good point. Saad brought up a great point. We primarily focus in fashion, clothing, cosmetics, shoes, things along those lines. But we have opened up the borders to electronics, services, and really everything else that you can think of, because our core demographic was primarily female to start. But we just got we like our customer base is huge. Like it's so wide now. It's kind of expanded past that, and because of that, we've opened up into electronics, right? And we're onboarding our first travel merchant in the coming weeks, which is really exciting. And so, like
Yeah.
once again, it's not about the cheap items, right? It's about how is the brand perceived, because we don't want a brand that's going to have tons of customer service complaints, right? We don't want to have people like that on our platform. We want people who treat their customers right, and we want the customers that are going to treat the brands right. It's a two-way relationship. We want to make sure that parties on both sides are being facilitated accordingly.
Okay. And you talked about the upper limit of the order size right now, which is like 60K or 70K.
35,000 rupees is the upper limit.
Okay.
However, we do have a new product line coming out next quarter, which is really exciting, which I'd love to share with you about once that gets launched. But it will vastly increase the type of transactions that we can support moving forward.
No, fantastic. So what happens if I purchase something that costs like 70,000 PKR? Do I have the option to pay like half in cash and get the other half in BNPL?
No, not today. I mean, look, a merchant could set it up like that if they really wanted to, but it's against our terms and conditions, right? And the reason being is that it's how do you manage returns at that point, right? If you return that item,
Oh, okay.
how do you manage that? Or if you have a problem with the item, and the merchant says, "Hey, I'm not going to take this item back, but you want to return it," you are only then essentially able to get half a return. We can only facilitate half that transaction. So sure, a merchant can set it up, but it's going to create problems for both the merchant as well as the consumer down the line if any sort of issues happen. Which once again, our value proposition is sitting as that intermediary within the transaction to ensure both parties are happy.
No, makes sense. And I think things like travel and smartphones and laptops and all of these things that require upfront cash for now in Pakistan. In the US, everyone can get an iPhone for like $30 a month. That has been the way, but here it's not the way, right? You need to have like, even if you make good income, you need to save that amount of cash to spend on these assets, and especially I think with travel, right? It requires a lot of amount upfront. But definitely once this service is available and someone can kind of get things on installment, I am sure a lot more people would start consuming these articles.
Absolutely, absolutely. And look, we're really excited. I think where we're at right now, because we're only 2 months in, the amount of retailers that have signed up with us, and we literally just can't keep up, is a very positive thing. Um,
Yeah.
but we have, I think once some of these larger brands are more public with us, it's going to be really exciting, and we're really excited to get these some of these brands live.
Fantastic. Really looking forward to QisstPay helping this market and also personally using QisstPay as well. I think with this we can close. If either of you have any thing to share as like the closing remarks.
Uh, yeah, sure. So I mean, as always, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn if anybody's interested in learning more. As I mentioned, people love installments. It's installments have been happening for years in Pakistan. We're just simply the first platform to digitalize it and make it more formalized with the populace. Personally, I love Pakistan. I mean, it's a great country. The people are amazing. I
Yeah,
think
we're very lovable.
you are. I mean, Pakistan gets such a bad rep in the public eyes, which is a real shame because I think every time I've been there, it's just been a good experience. The people are great, and I'm just excited that I get to be in such a journey, especially with someone like Saad, who is like a brother to me. And I feel like that everyone on our team that has joined is just so passionate about what we're doing. I think Pakistan is going to be one of those success stories that you see in Pakistan, and hopefully, we'll be the next Uber or the next Kareem bought by Uber type of story, right?
Oh,
That
absolutely.
came out from Pakistan.
Absolutely. And best of luck on your journey. Looking forward to seeing you when you get to Pakistan or in the US.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Okay,
perfect.
let
Thank you
me.
so much for your time. I appreciate this.
Yeah, thanks to
Thank you
both of
so
you.
much,
Thanks to all
Azish.
the. Yeah, thanks, Saad. Thanks to all the amazing people who have tuned in.